I was hiking west on Highway 1, a long way out of town, when a trail of dust came up the road, and I sort of waved it down. 'Twas a dusty old pickup. Every fender had a dent. I was tired and wasted, my energy far spent. I opened the door. I saw a face with a big old friendly smile. "Hop in, buddy. Sit a spell, and rest your feet a while." "It must be 100 out there," I said, as I wiped away the sweat. "Maybe even more," as he tipped his cowboy hat. He said, "I'm heading into town to catch a mighty show. You can tag along with me. It's called the rodeo. I always take a special friend. Today we'll make it 3. It won't cost you a single dime, and there's plenty you can see. I used to ride the bulls out there not too long ago, but one of them kind of took me for a ride, and I had to let it go. But I still love to sit and keep watching my old friends and think about the old times and wish to ride again." We drove in through the gates and stopped at an old barn door. "This is where the action is," as he kicked dust up from the floor. He took me to a special room. There were trophies everywhere. "This one here is my first. The one I missed is over there. I didn't bring you here to brag, so let's go watch the crowd as they watched their favorite cowboys and cheered to make them proud." We sat up in the bleachers, and I looked around to see if his special friend had showed up, the one that made it 3. He pointed to the cowboys that were standing at the gate. He said, "You should get to know them before it gets too late. They travel through the country bringing the gospel as they ride, Christian cowboys for Jesus, with their Bibles at their side." I turned around to ask him, but he vanished without a trace. Many there were looking as if to read my ghostly face. An old man sitting beside me with a warm and loving smile said, "This always happens to someone, every once in a little while. You see, his name was Billy Boy. He rode bulls for many a year. There isn't a trophy he hasn't won, and they're stored in a room out here. Some say they've been inside to view his Hall of Fame, but he never wanted them on display. He'd won a bigger game. He rode a bull named Thunderbolt 10 years ago this date. His future was being written as he rode out through the gate. He gave his heart to Jesus after that terrible, terrible ride, and vowed that he would help the Lord just before he died. If you count the cowboys standing there, you'll see that there are 9, one for every year that's passed. Billy Boy's doing fine. He's working hard for the Lord as a Christian cowboy does, but the labor doesn't seem that hard when it's a labor full of love. The Spirit whispered in my ear, He's after you and me. A Christian cowboy is now Billy Boy's fame, and Jesus made it 3. I realized then what the old man said. It's about the hearts of men. As I headed out toward the gate, you see, this year, I'd be the one to make it 10.
The stage is set, the curtain's drawn. Sunday church, the show is on. And heaven's all throughout their songs. You'd think they meant them all along. But they've been doing this for years. Sometimes they even shed some tears. They're unfaithful without fear. This play is not like it appears. They're so impressed by the world. It won their heart with just one song. Looks like the villain got the girl. Please tell me why the show goes on. You see, they found another love. This one's not from up above. I hope their new flame is enough. 'Cause loving both is kinda tough. They say that God's still number one. They just wanna have some fun. If there was danger, they would run. But up till now, they're finding none. They're so impressed by the world. They're torn between which part to play. They'd like to give them both the world, but you can't live your life both ways. I want a good old-fashioned play, not like the stuff we see today. People living church that way, then they have the nerve to pray. All these actors should have known, I'm sure at one time they were shown, just by how much they condone. They're saying heaven's not their home. They're so impressed by the world, it won their heart with just one song. Looks like the villain got the girl. You wonder why the show goes on until the good guy wins the girl. I guess the show must go on.
He was just an old country doctor in a little Kentucky town. Fame and fortune had passed him by, but we'd never seen him frown. As day by day in his kindly way he served us one and all. Many a patient forgot to pay, although Doc's fees were small. But old Doc Brown didn't seem to mind. He didn't even send out bills. His only ambition was to find, it seemed, sure cures for aches and ills. Why, nearly half the folks in my hometown, yes, I'm one of them too, were ushered in by old Doc Brown when we made our first debut. Though he needed his dimes, that there were times that he'd receive a fee, he'd pass it on to some poor soul that needed it worse than he. So when the Depression hit our town and drained each man's purse, the scanty income of old Doc Brown just went from bad to worse. He had to sell all of his furniture. Why, he couldn't even pay his office rent. So to a dusty room over a liver's table, Doc Brown and his satchel went. On the hitching post at the curb below, to advertise his wares, he nailed a little sign that read, "Doc Brown has moved upstairs." There he kept on helping folks get well, and his heart was pure gold. But anyone with eyes could see that Doc was getting old. Then one day he didn't even answer when they knocked upon his door, and old Doc Brown was a-lying down, but his soul was no more. They found him there in an old black suit, and on his face was a smile of content. But all the money they could find on him was a quarter and a copper cent. So they opened up his ledger, and what they saw gave their hearts a pull. Beside each debtor's name, old Doc had writ these words, "Paid in full." It looked like the potter's field for Doc, and that caused us some alarm. Then someone remembered the family graveyard out on the Simmons farm. Old Doc brought 6 of their children, and Simmons was a grateful cuss. He said, "Doc's been like one of the family, so you can let him sleep with us." Doc should have had a funeral fine enough for a king. It's a ghastly joke that our town was broke and no one could give a thing. Except Jones the undertaker. He did mighty well, donated an old iron casket that he'd never been able to sell. And his funeral procession, it wasn't much for pomp and style and grace, but those wagon loads of mourners, they stretched out for more than a mile. And we breathed a prayer as we laid him there to rest beneath the sod. This man had earned the right to be on speaking terms with God. His grave was covered with flowers, but not from the floral shops, just roses and things from post gardens, and 1 or 2 dandelion tops. For the Depression had hit our town hard, and each man carried a load, so some just picked the wildflowers as they passed along the road. We wanted to give him a monument 'cause we kind of figured he owed him one, 'cause he'd made our town a better place for all the good he'd done. But monuments cost money, so we did the best we could, and on his grave we gently placed a monument of wood. We dug up that old hitching post where Doc had nailed his sign. We painted it white, and to all of us it certainly did look fine. Now the rains and snows have washed away our white trimmings of paint, and there's nothing left but Doc's old sign, and now that's getting faint. Still, when twinkling stars and gentle breezes caress our sleeping town, and the pale moon shines through Kentucky times on the grave of old Doc Brown, You can still see that old hitching post, as if in answer to our prayers, dutifully telling the whole wide world Doc Brown has moved upstairs.